I'm John Lynch at the Texas MOTORPLEX here in Ennis, Texas. And as you can see, as you can hear, it's not looking good for racing today for the finals of the Nitro Outlaw Series here in 2018. And it includes the car driven by Corey McLenithan, also the car driven by Bill Litton on the dragster side. And on the funny car side, we have Todd Simpson and we have Del Worsham that are here. And we have with us right now Corey McLenithan, legendary Corey Mac, had a good season so far, leading the points coming into here. Now, it's been an interesting season, not just here in the Nitro Outlaws, but for teams like yours. Bill Litton's had a good season elsewhere. Todd Simpson's made a few shows, so it's been interesting to watch around the country.
Well, it really has, but I mean, you got to remember now, when Bill and all those guys go run their cars other places, they're running, you know, up to 90% nitromethane. Right. So they go out of our rule type of deal. Right. Well, we came and ran with the other group, and we ran 80% and ran 397. Yeah. I don't think these other guys can do that on 80%, but we finally got it where it's running in 390s. We think it'll run high 380s, low 390s at like 315 or so.
Has the durability and the longevity of the parts been what you expected?
Even more so. I mean, realistically, we've had the same block in the car all year. It's got 16 runs on the crank right now. Okay. And normally in a 90% atmosphere type of deal, they're getting 3 to 4 runs. I mean, if they're really easy on it, they can maybe get 7 or 8. But I mean, parts-wise and everything else, we've hurt 2 pistons this year. That's it. You know, Descher's kind of paving the way and showing these guys it can be done. I mean, they're over here thinking, you're not doing that. And I said, no, you can check the tank. It's at 80% flat. That's just the way it goes. And they're they're pushing the envelope at 89.9. I mean, they're right on the edge, but they're also hurting parts. We don't.
Corey Mack is with us here. We're waiting out the rain right now. We're at the Texas MOTORPLEX for the finals of the Nitro Outlaws. I'm John Lynch, and we'll be back with more later. We were talking with Corey McLenithan a little while ago, and he was talking about the longevity, the better parts usage that they've been able to get on their team at the 80% level. Are you experiencing the same thing?
Sure. It's easier on some of the parts, and you don't have to replace them as often. And the motor likes it. You know, you don't have any bearing trouble, and it's just a different outlook on it. And the 80% does seem to help you on parts-wise instead of like 90% or 89% nitro.
So if it's helping you on parts, it's also helping you race more often.
Well, it helps your budget. You can plan a little better and buy more parts, but yeah, it helps both ways.
Okay. So, how's it been for a season for Simpson Racing?
Well, it's been good. I mean, we've had, good luck and some bad luck. Good runs and a couple of bad ones, but we was happy with the season. We raced a lot this year, and going to Phoenix and going to Denver twice, and running the NHRA events that we run, plus the Nitro Outlaw events. So we did a lot more racing this year than we normally do.
But it's been great to talk with you throughout the season, and glad you're part of the Nitro Outlaws, Todd.
Thank you, and we enjoy being here.
Todd Simpson, Simpson Racing, here at the Texas MOTORPLEX. Jack Wyatt, longtime funny car racer and one of the originators of this concept of Nitro Outlaw Drag Racing Association. What got you involved in this in the first place?
And we're just looking for a place to be able to run our cars, slow them down just a little bit, not much slow them down, but just detune them a little bit so the parts survive, and put on a good show. We need to get it back to the fans and get them more involved.
Which is the whole point.
Everybody seems to have lost the perspective. That's what we're showmen. We're supposed to be. And so I know what I got to do and what I can afford to do. And maybe we get this thing going, we can actually be able to afford to do a little bit more racing. So that's what I'm going to do. We only run the car about 6 times a year. We'd like to do more.
So this should be a lot more affordable for the independent guys. You don't have to run the cars hard. The 80% makes the parts look better. And it's a great stepping stone for a lot of guys that want to get into the big show, but this is like a little bit of a learning block, I think, for them.
That was our first run on the 80%, kind of a planned early shut-off, and the parts look better than they ever have before. The motor revved up good, so overall we're really, really happy.
Overall then, you think the 80% rule is having its intended benefit?
Oh God, yeah. The motor. We took the motor apart. You could put the pistons and rods back in it again. Looked perfect. So that's nice.
Bill Litton drives the Litton Financial Top Fuel Dragster in the Nitro Outlaws, and it's been a very good season for Bill and his team, not only with the Nitro Outlaws, but also in NHRA, as we've seen you make quite a few shows this year. Been a good year.
Yeah, it has. Every race, it seems like we get more things figured out and tweaked, and Chuck and Dell and all the other guys work really hard to make us faster.
Now, last weekend at this very facility, when the weather was a little bit different, and we saw you go out in the first round and just a huge ball of fire come out of the side of the engine. What was going on?
Yeah, we had a piston problem. It turned into a valve train problem, and then 11,000 horsepower decided to leave through a hole in the block, which is not good. You always wonder how big that's going to get and how long it's going to last when it's going on.
Now, other than that, you were running a little bit more than the 80% that we run here in the Nitro Outlaws, correct?
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly what we were running. We'd have to check with the fuel mixer.
Have you seen what Todd and Corey have already told us, that the parts longevity has been an improvement at 80%?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know Dell and Chuck are really happy with that as well.
Bill Litton, Litton Financial, Top Fuel Dragster here at the Texas Motorplex. As we continue dealing with a rain delay here at the Texas Motorplex, I'm John Lynch along with Del Worsham, who has to deal with two cars here, the funny car and also the Litton Financial Top Fuel Dragster. We were talking with Bill Litton earlier. Del, one question I've got from the work of a Nitro Outlaw at the 80% level. It seems to have had the effect with other teams we've talked to from a parts durability standpoint.
Yeah, it definitely has, John. We when Dexter brought this idea to all of us, last season, I thought, hey, I think 80% would be the way to do this to help with the cost, get the turnaround times down, and just make it maybe a little more cost efficient without the show suffering at all. None of us knew, and we all rolled into Phoenix and made our runs. And I think now, for the final race of the season for Nitro Outlaws, we're way ahead of where we were, and the cars do run well, and they put big, huge fire out of the pipes, and they make runs, in excess of 300 miles per hour. So I think everything that Nitro Outlaws was trying to accomplish has been accomplished, and I think we have a show now that as time goes on, it'll just get better. The first thing about Nitro Outlaw racing, is that we only race for one day and the maximum of 3 runs. So just in sheer volume of parts, you just don't need as many as you're going to need to go to a typical race where you can make as many as 8 runs. So that's one thing there. We're still prepared like we would be at any race to have to change every part every round if you have to win, because we're competitors, and this is not it's not an exhibition, and it's not a gathering. It's still a race, and they still want to win. What's unique about Nitro Outlaws, and I think we're going to do it as we did last time, is that after we get through the funny cars, there's a final round, there's a single winner, and get the race a dragster, and I love nothing more than to take this Toyota Camry with half the wheelbase as the Litton Financial or the Color Fast dragster over there, and put a whooping on them.
You've driven both.
Yeah.
Is it distinctly different driving-wise?
It is, and it's amazing because you wouldn't think going straight ahead, accelerating for 1,000 feet would be much different. But, the first thing I noticed when I did one from the other was the funny car, and I know, and it's hard to explain, but with the engine in front of you, it's almost like it pulls you, as opposed to a top fuel car, the engine being behind you, as pushing you. And it's a strange feeling. The cars sound very different, because one of them, the exhaust is right here, the engine's in front of you. The top fuel car, everything's behind you. The steering's obviously different. The front of this car right here weighs basically it's 50% in the front, 50% in the rear as far as weight goes front to rear. A top fuel car, heck, the front end of the dragster only weighs 500 pounds. The rest of the car weighs 2,000. So the steering input and the weight on the steering wheel, and as you're driving, and the amount of input it takes to make it do what you want is different. But in the end, you want to go straight, you want to make sure you get your parachutes out, and you sure as heck want to win.
It's been great having you as part of the Nitro Outlaws in this debut season. Looking ahead, hopefully we get a break in the rain, and hopefully we do a lot more of this in 2019.
Yeah, I agree with you, man, and it would be really fun, and I'm glad we did this. It was a nice little I don't want to call it a total experiment, but to come out and try and look at drag racing, especially nitro racing, in a little different aspect and a little different way of going about it. And we learned a lot this year, and hopefully in 2019 we can put together a program that will be very entertaining, a little more cost efficient, and the fans will want to come out and watch.
Del Ocean, been a pleasure. Thank you very much. We're here at the Texas Motorplex. We're waiting out the rain and hoping for the best. In the state where everything is big, so is the trophy. The 2018 World Championship trophy we present to the Nitro Outlaw champion, Corey McLenithan. Corey, come on in here. Congratulations on taking home the big hardware from the big state here, but it wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't. I mean, we had some really competitive cars come out. I mean, at the MOTORPLEX, Del Worsham got me in the final, and we were kind of doing a little betting game of leaving the starting line, and that did not pay off for me. So luckily we were able to win some of the other races, runner up on that one, and kept the points lead to the season.
So you dubbed the trophy at the first awards as the Dexter. We call this the Big Dex now or something?
Yeah, I mean, this thing's taller than I am, so I can't imagine getting this thing on the plane and going home. But, you know, Dexter has a good plan, and if this kind of sticks, we'll be back next year doing it again at a bigger level and have some more cars involved in it. But this shows that you can go out and run your car and not spend a bunch of money. Can't always play with the big boys all the time, but we can step off the porch every now and then and show them what we got.
Well, and as you said earlier this weekend, you ran one block, one crank, 4 times as much as you would have in a different series.
Exactly. I mean, how many times do you go through a whole series, run 5 races at least, and do some testing, keep one block, one crank, and everything else to go with it in between the rails? That's a big deal. I mean, these guys having to sling motors in and out of it after every run, it just doesn't say a lot for the sport. And we're trying to make the sport healthy. This has made that happen.
And made it fun, too. I'm John Lynch with Corey McLenithan, the champion of the 2018 Nitro Outlaw Series here at the finale at the Texas Motorplex. Thanks so much for joining us.